happy pre-solar eclipse. No, it's not happening yet. It's next month, and that would be on April 8th, and I know that you're looking forward to that. And, well, Mark McNutt here, and speaking to you from Deadwood, and we're looking at the astrological update, as I usually do these at the new moon. Today's the new moon, but it seems like a perfect day for filming, so that's what we're doing today. And it's a new moon in Pisces today, and then in 1 month, in 29 days, we have a new moon in Aries, which is also a special new moon because it's the solar eclipse. I know sometimes people go, oh, it's a new moon and the solar eclipse. It's like, well, you can only have a solar eclipse under a new moon. You can only have a lunar eclipse under a full moon. They come in pairs. There will be a lunar eclipse on March 23rd, but it's not going to be special around these parts. So we'll just move on. Okay, so one of the most interesting things about now, we're talking sun and moon in Pisces, but there's also Neptune and Mercury's leaving Pisces, and also Saturn. And so there's a lot of energy in Pisces. There's a lot of energy in in the late winter and early spring signs. So you have Pluto in Aquarius, Mars in Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius, 5 planets in Pisces, and then you have Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus, and that's it. As far as planets go, it's very concentrated right now. The effect of that would be that everything is happening at once, and it's kind of a hard vibe to describe because we're at the tail end of the astrological year, and when the sun goes into Aries on March 20th, also known as the spring equinox, there's going to be a lot of juicing up, a lot of getting fired up, getting inspired. And right now we're at the tail end of the astrological year. Here in Deadwood, it's a little bit wintry, and so, but everything is happening. Everything is building up to a breaking point that will be a release point for a lot of people. So if you happen to be a Pisces, or perhaps an Aries, maybe a Taurus, like in that part of the spectrum, there's a lot of activity right now. And for those on the opposite end of the spectrum, that would be like Leo, Virgo, Libra, and so forth. There's basically it's a time of indwelling. But what's most important right now is that there's a concentration of planets. It's very rare to see such a concentration of planets. So everything is just in a few signs, and that gives a lot of momentum to certain activities and a lot of, as I mentioned, concentration of energy. So this allows for a lot of potential focus, and yet the dichotomy here is, okay, potential focus and 5 planets in Pisces. Well, that also inspires one to want to, space out, to want to dream, to want to just kind of be, some other place than earth plane reality. Not necessarily escapist, but more allowing for the nonlinear reality to kick in there. And yet everything is going on. Everything is affected. So there's an important concept here, which is every morning rise at cause. Rise at, if you can stand it, stay in bed a few minutes just to center yourself and for your day, because there's a lot going on right now, and you can easily get distracted under these kind of aspects. Don't let life just happen to you. You need to happen to life. You need to make the incentive to make things happen, and this will become more prevalent, more aware in a few weeks at that lunar eclipse, and then the solar eclipse coming up on April 8th. And that's a sun and moon in Aries, and that's about taking action. So for some of you, it can be like contemplate and then be ready to act. And for some others, it can be like there's an admonition to really pay attention right now, because a lot of important swings are happening, a lot of arcs that are bringing you into the future, and they may be happening and you might not be noticing it. Or the other choice is to figure out where you want to point your ship, where you want to point your spaceship, your body, your life, and what direction you want to move in, because energy follows intention. And so the most important thing is to be aware, and even to be aware of what your dreams are, of what your intentions are, of what those daydreams are, because they're really important now too. This is definitely a time where, under Pisces, there's a tendency to, just space out and kind of just roll with it. And yet, if you figure out how to point your dreams, they're going to gather a lot of potency in the coming month. Now, the solar eclipse, traditionally, for many generations, eclipses have been a signifier of deep and lasting change, particularly in the areas where the eclipses happen. There was an eclipse a few years ago on January 10th, 2020, in Wuhan, China, and then the whole pandemic thing and so forth. And then this eclipse is going to center in the U.S., and so this is going to, many people are going to be in the path, or very near to the path of totality. And that's where the biggest moving and shaking will go on. But whether or not you get to see an eclipse, it's happening anyway. And but this is the month before the eclipse, so what's that all about? Well, that's all about kind of the agitation of the awareness that change is in the air. So this is not a stagnant time at all. Some of you may just be waiting for the big break or whatever, but this is it's going on already. And traditionally, eclipses, particularly solar eclipses, have been kind of a real agitation time for people, for animals, and so forth, for anything that's got water in their blood. We get affected by that. For anything that has magnetite in their brains, well, that's all living beings. And so what happens is there's this kind of like stimulation, agitation, awareness of of not necessarily conflict, but but that something is going on, and that something is intangible. And it's not like one can't figure it out. It's like you're given an opportunity at this time to spearhead your own future changes, because the next phase, when the sun goes into Aries on March 20th, energy is going to move. Energy is going to move very rapidly, and it's going on right now as well. So be aware that we're dreaming our futures even as we speak, and just like you can look at a seed and there's a potential for the plant and the potential for growth, but you can't quite see the whole flowering right now. But if you plant those seeds now, they will bear fruit, and it's important to intend that. So this is a time of maximum intention. Pisces gets misinterpreted a lot as just being, as I mentioned, the ethereal, nebulous, and so forth like that. And I'm well acquainted with this aspect of Pisces. But it's also about dreaming your next direction. So with Saturn in Pisces, where it is all year, Saturn in Pisces is sort of like living the dream, but not necessarily being aware of it in day-to-day life. People who are born with Saturn in Pisces, they tend to, no matter what their age is, they tend to not know what they're doing when they grow up, even if they're, born in 1967 or whatever. So it is a time for focusing intention and being aware of it. But don't beat yourself up if you're not clear on what the details are, because this isn't about details. This is about being with it and intending. So energy follows intention, which means that this is a time to take some moments to just clarify what your life direction is, which will be the fruits of that will be really obvious in a matter of weeks. And so when the eclipse happens, April 8th again, what's going to happen is the time right before that, the 2 weeks before that, March 23rd to April 8th, is a time when you can expect old structures to dissolve. You can expect a lot of moving and shaking, and then the eclipse month, April 8th to about May 6th or so, stimulates the doing of spring. And yes, it happens to be spring and everything related to it, the plants and the warmth and all that. But psychologically, that's also energy follows intention, and that's going to be a part of it. Now, Jupiter's moving through Taurus as well. It's going to catch up with the planet Uranus by the end of the cycle, and there's an abundance of unforeseen energy, of surprises in store for all of us. It could be a really good thing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Pluto has just entered Aquarius. So this is the time to plant the seeds of community and of the group doing and all that, and prep your summer that way. And again, Saturn in Pisces, Sun and Moon in Pisces. Mars and Venus are both entering Pisces a few weeks apart, and so the whole social scene is going to be stimulated as well. And this is a time again to reach out with whomever you feel that soul connection with, because this is a month for the soul. Also, there are no retrogrades this month, so that's like full speed ahead. And then we'll experience on April Fool's Day, as if to make fools of us all, Mercury is going to go retrograde, and Mercury will be in Aries for 2.5 months. So busy time, busy mind. But take those moments to center and remember where you are in your own chessboard, in your own dream universe, because dreaming is what filters down into reality, into Earth. And I don't want to just call it reality, because the dream is also the reality. So happy dreaming, happy spring, and happy no retrogrades, and don't go too crazy with the eclipse happening pretty soon, because we're just humans in training, and we're just responding to the cosmic influences of all the things around us. We're very focused right now, so yeah, go for it. Make some changes.